show you guys how to make marinated cheese. It's a really fancy looking appetizer, but it doesn't take long to make. The most tedious part is cutting the cheese into long strips and sandwiching them with cream cheese, but it's for the finished product and for what it looks like, it's totally worth your time. So we're going to start with the marinade. This has got several fresh ingredients and spices and olive oil and vinegars, and you're going to pour that over your cheese and it's going to marinate overnight. So we're going to get started with the marinade. We're going to use some olive oil, and I'm not going to give you guys amounts because this recipe is in my ebook. I thought that this would be a great recipe to do as a video, because in the written instructions it can get kind of confusing when you get to the cheese part, and so I wrote it as good as I could, but it still is kind of, you kind of need a visual to see what it is that I'm talking about. So all the exact directions and all the amounts, they'll be in my ebook. So we have olive oil, and we've got white wine vinegar, and then there's a equal amount of balsamic vinegar as well. So I just only had one measuring cup, so add that in with the oil. And then this is a roasted red pepper. I just buy a jar of, it's a sweet roasted pepper, and they're in whole pieces, and I just dice them up to be pretty small, and I add that in here. And I've got fresh basil from the garden, and I've got fresh chives and some fresh parsley. And then I have already put my garlic through my garlic press because I just like it more pureed. And then we have some sugar, some salt, and some pepper. And that's all there is to that. And it just makes a wonderful chutney-like marinade. So that's finished. We're going to set this aside, and I'll show you how exactly you put the cheese blocks together. So what I've gotten here is I have white cheddar. This is a sharp white cheddar. You could probably use mild. You actually could probably use any cheese that you want, but I like the sharp cheddar mixed with that marinade. It just is more bold. And so I didn't want to take the time to do it here. I pre-cut these into strips. So you set your cheese, you know, let's see, this way, and then I take a knife that is longer than the actual block of cheese, so that I can line it up and I can see it from beginning to end, and then I just cut straight down. And I did it, it's about every fourth half an inch. Now the recipe is going to say that you need to cut your block of cheese into, what does it say, 20 1/4 inch slices. And the cheese that I found, it was not as big as what this recipe is calling for. They were about half the size, so I'm not getting quite as many. You don't have to be so exact. To me, you just, you know, cut it, and whatever you get, you get. It doesn't really matter. So I've got 2 blocks of cheese that I've already done that too. And now I didn't want to pre-do it to the cream cheese because that would be a bit difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the cream cheese up, and then I'll show you how to assemble. You know, I'll probably actually cut these as I go along, because once I cut them, then they're just, you know, sticking to each other again. So I get a butter knife, and I'll get 1 length of cheese. Yeah, they're sticking. and I'll get a slice of cream cheese, and I lay it on here. Now sometimes you might need to spread it with a knife, but I'm finding that if I just pull this a little bit, it stretches to be the exact length. So you just, try and keep this the same thickness all the way across, but once again, it's not going to matter. You don't have to be terribly exact. And then a slice of cheese. And then, you're just going to go back and forth. You're going to be sandwiching your cream cheese in between your cheddar slices. And you're going to have two separate cheese blocks when you're done. Don't stack them all together. So do this one and then do that one. And you're probably going to have a lot of cream cheese left. I'd rather have leftover cream cheese than not enough, so I bought myself 2 blocks. That's what the recipe calls for, but once again, it just depends on how big your cheddar cheese is to start with. So I'll just go ahead and finish sandwiching these together, and then I'll show you what we do next. Now, as you can see, if you could tell in the video that my thing fell over, sometimes it gets, top heavy and out of balance, and so you may need to lay it down to finish putting it together. And I found it easier on the last slice to actually spread the cream cheese on the slice and then put it together. It's not going to be like a perfect slices, because cream cheese gets kind of soft. And then I'm noticing, a lot of it, I like to just even it off with a knife when I'm done. And so you're going to have 2 blocks of this cheese. Now, what I like to do, and you don't have to do this, but what I like to do is I cut each one of these into, let's see, two blocks. So you're going to have a total of 4 blocks. I find that it just looks nicer in my serving plate to have something that is more, this size, than to have the big huge one. You can stagger them. You just have a lot more options than just 2 big huge blocks. So I go ahead and slice these. And so there's that. And then my hands are pretty dirty, but so I've got my dish that I'm going to marinate them in, and slide it underneath to be able to get them up, and just lay them in your casserole pan like that. These might not fit. My 9x13 was being used, and so I had to make do with a smaller one. Well, maybe I can make it fit. But you might want to just go with a 9x13. That's what the recipe calls for. There we go. And now you're ready to marinate them. So for those of you guys that are observant and said, hey, she looks like she changed her outfit. Well, you're absolutely right. I did. I got interrupted while I was filming, and I had to wait till today. So here I am. I'm back, and we are going to finish getting this marinated cheese going. And so we have the cheese that we stacked, the cream cheese with the sharp cheddar, and now when the marinade that we made, and it's been sitting in the fridge for probably a day, and so it's going to be just fine. So I'm gonna give it a little stir, and then we're just gonna pour it over the top of these blocks of cheese kind of evenly. Make sure you get a lot of the oil and the vinegar poured over each one. So I'll just spread it out, and we're just gonna cover this with some plastic wrap and keep it in the fridge. And I like to marinate it for at least 24 hours for all the flavors to infuse down into that cheese. Once during the marinating time, just flip it over and kind of redistribute the marinade. And then when you're ready to serve it, you can just serve it with crackers or baguettes of bread that have been toasted with maybe a little olive oil on it. And then just put a knife where people can slice off little pieces of it and put it on their crackers. And you'll be surprised how flavorful it is, because it's just that oil and vinegar is going to go into the cheese, and then you've got a little bit of the pepper herb topping that can go on as well. So that is how easy it is. It looks very gourmet, but it doesn't take much work at all. So give them a try, and I'd love to hear what you guys think of them. I do post weekly, so make sure that you subscribe and you hit the little bell so you're notified each time that I post a recipe. And so until next week, happy cooking.